From the heart of the European project, an offer to Kiev, EU officials formally recommend Ukraine be made a candidate member. On a surprise visit to Kiev, Britain's Boris Johnson announces a military training programme that he says could change the war. Russia strikes a defiant note. President Putin accuses Western powers of provoking humanitarian catastrophes around the world. And who's going to be the next host of Eurovision? The UK is in talks over the singing spectacular, but Ukraine plans to appeal. Heavy fighting is continuing in the east of Ukraine and the war is taking a terrible toll. Hundreds of Ukrainian troops and civilians are being killed or injured every day, mainly as a result of Russian shelling. Ukraine's medical services are under enormous pressure, and one British surgeon, David Knott, who has decades of experience treating war injuries, has been on the front line helping to train Ukrainian doctors.
And the Mirror claims that Sir Paul McCartney has dropped the song Back in the USSR from his set list in protest at Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine. And speaking of Sir Paul, he turns 80 today. Happy birthday.
In what is the fastest decision in EU history, the European Commission has formally recommended candidate status for Ukraine, but with conditions. For Ukraine, this has been a long-time ambition, and President Zelensky was quick to react, hailing it as an historic moment, which will bring victory in the war against Russia closer. Meanwhile, President Putin said he was not against the idea because the EU wasn't a military bloc, but couldn't see how it would benefit Kiev. Here's a Commission President, Ursula von der Leyen, speaking in Brussels.
And we all know that Ukrainians are ready to die for the European perspective. We want them to live with us the European dream.
Let's look at where Ukraine is in its EU application. Well, it has three phases broadly. Phase 1 is the application to become a candidate for EU membership. Ukraine submitted their application in March. First, they need the European Commission to recommend them, which they did today. And the application needs to be approved by European Council and Parliament. Phase 2 is where it gets more complicated. Ukraine must meet three conditions to join the EU. They must have stable and democratic institutions, they must be a functioning market economy, and they must implement EU law. This is a lengthy process as EU law applies to a huge variety of areas, from taxation to transport policy. That's why this phase of the application can take several years. Once Ukraine is seen to meet all these conditions, they submit a final application known as a Treaty of Accession, which will need to pass a vote in the Council, the European Parliament, and be approved by all 27 member states.
A major new round of British military training for Ukrainian soldiers has been announced by the Prime Minister.
During a surprise visit to Kyiv, Boris Johnson told President Zelensky that the aim was to train up to 10,000 soldiers every 4 months. Our Europe correspondent Nick Beak has this update.
Well, the Prime Minister was certainly a long way away from some criticism he faced back home for missing a meeting of his own MPs. Here in Kyiv, though, he was given an extremely warm welcome. He was standing alongside President Zelensky, who said that the support he had shown, that Britain had shown, Boris Johnson had shown, was unparalleled. Boris Johnson, of course, the leader who took his country out of the European Union. Volodymyr Zelensky wants his country, Ukraine, to join. And Ukraine actually has got a big boost now with the European Commission saying it approves the idea of Ukraine starting on the very long path, probably, to full EU membership. Of course, Boris Johnson's visit comes just 24 hours after the leaders of France, Germany, Italy and Romania were here on a similar sort of visit. And the Ukrainians say that they're really grateful for this sort of show of strength, this support, the political strength it shows in the face of Vladimir Putin's aggression. But if you talk to them privately, they really stress that what they really want at this time, in their hour of need, as they describe it, are heavy weapons coming from the West. They want them to come here much quicker because they remain in this really brutal battle with Russia.